What advice would you give to any aspiring artists or songwriters out there?
Just make the thing. It can be fun.
Yeah.
You know?
Doing creative things can be fun sometimes.
What?
Yeah.
Who knew? If I know what I want to say, writing on my own sometimes is easier because it's kind of like I can just get it out. If it's there, it can be quick.
I just had like a vision of they want to come on the journey and I'm like some kind of Hobbit, Lord of the Rings kind of things happening.
Absolutely.
People are ready to go on there.
Get me to Rohan.
Yeah. Shacking Up with FREYA MCCARTHY. Hi, welcome to Shacking Up episode 3 with FREYA MCCARTHY, a show where I bring up-and-coming Midlands-based artists into my shed to talk all things music. Our guest today is a Birmingham-based artist and songwriter inspired by the likes of Nick Drake and Lizzie McAlpine, taking us on a journey through folk-inspired lyricism with an indie pop sonic palette. His music feels like a familiar warmth with a delicate approach to touching on beauty in the darkness. In the world we live in today, our Shacking Up guest finds the words to comfort his audience. A visionary to look out for. Welcome, Henry Liggins.
Hello.
How are you doing today?
I'm good. Visionary sounds like pressure, but it's
Sounds
good.
like pressure.
Yeah.
Gotta hype you up. gotta get the interest peaked in the first minute or so as well. Yeah, first question then. What have you been listening to recently? Who and what's on your radar?
A lot of variety.
I'd like to hear that.
On the way here was listening to Dog-Eared, Billy Martin, what we spoke about the other day.
Yeah.
Just love it. Like every single track. No skips.
Yeah.
So good. So yeah, I've been listening to that a lot. I've been listening to a lot of Radiohead actually. I mean, I'm wearing a Radiohead shirt today. I watched Hamlet at the RSC set to Hail to the Thief a few months ago. I knew Hail to the Thief before that, but I didn't love it. I was like, it's okay. But now I love it. Like I love that album so much. So I've been listening to that a lot as well this week.
What's your favourite song on the Dog-Eared album?
I don't know. I could honestly, I mean, how many tracks? It's like 10 tracks. I could name like 7 as my favourite. I love Planets. I absolutely love Planets. But even just feeling dum and then you're in and it's like, great. Love it. Swing's great. Have you got a favourite song on it?
I think I'm gonna have to say Planets as well. I know I should have a different opinion maybe for variety, but yeah, it's just really good. It's really so good. Yeah. So I guess Planets is the song of today.
Such a banger.
Yeah. Shout out Billy Martin. Okay, next question. What is your favourite thing about music in the Midlands?
I quite like that it's quite an inviting place. Like if ever there's another artist or musician doing a show, you never feel like they're bigger than you, or even if they are like way bigger, you know, they're just happy to be with other artists. There's a few bands that I've met that are just all like that and they're all just lovely. Like, I don't know if you know Paradise Circus. Have you heard of Paradise Circus?
No.
So they're a really cool alt rock band from Birmingham. Well, Birmingham and Nottingham. But yeah, they were just like at this mixer event and they were just like so chill and so nice. And I don't know, I feel like it's because there's not a huge amount of artists that come from the Midlands and that go on to, I mean, there's more now than there have been, but because there's not like a huge amount, it feels like everyone wants to help each other.
Yeah, no, I definitely
trying to push
agree.
each other down.
You mentioned the power of an acoustic guitar a lot. What draws you to make music with that instrument?
So I think what helps is that I'm not really a very good guitarist. I've played piano since I was 5, and so when I kind of wanted to start writing music, it just felt normal that I'd write it on the piano, and I would sit for what felt like hours and hours and hours, and it would just be the same song I'd write every single time. It would just be really plain and bland and boring. And then I have been teaching myself guitar since I was 14, and the first like 6 years of that were bad. And then uni and COVID and everything, and I just started playing it much more. And then I think the fewer options you have to do something, the more interesting your way of doing it is. What's the phrase I'm looking for?
I know the one you mean.
Something breeds creativity.
Yeah.
When I'm playing piano, like I'm a good pianist, like I can play stuff, but because I can look at all the notes and I know what they're going to do, I play the guitar and I don't always know what's going to come out. I'm like, that's interesting. And I think you've got to have that like spark of cool, and so that kind of takes it forward. So with the acoustic guitar, obviously there's so much you can do with it. Like we were talking about like your tuning, is it still in DAGGAD at the moment or is it something else?
Let's find out. No.
That's a standard. But yeah, even just changing one of the strings, it's like suddenly you've got a different colour. I just love it.
It's so visual as well, I feel. Like patterns and shapes on a guitar just kind of allow for that creativity that piano can't, in a way where it's just the same notes repeated. Yeah, and you can get so much more tone-wise out of an acoustic guitar and an electric guitar. I mean, this is like pretty much like a rhythmic instrument, but yeah, acoustic guitars tone-wise can do a lot with them. There's a guy called Audio Haze online. He has a thing called a plunk, like a parlor muted guitar. Tones of guitars, and especially acoustic guitars, very interesting.
Yeah, I agree. And it's like when I'm writing stuff, I'll try and write and like think about texture immediately, and I'll be like, okay, well, I want this over here and I want this over here. Even just putting a capo on and then you play it in a different inversion, there's just, you know, it can just make it sound so different and fill out like a sound texture, you know, sound world so nicely. I also just really love like really, really dead strings, like not a dull sound, but like it's got history, it's got baggage.
Yeah.
Nick Drake vibe, you know?
Yeah, definitely. So as a writer, what does your process look like? And does it kind of follow a similar structure every time, or some of the time is it vastly different every single time you sit down to write? How does that look for you?
It's kind of, I think almost always it's lyrics first. And I think I find it much easier to write lyrics than I find writing music. I don't know why that is. I think I've kind of always written words even before I wanted to be a singer or anything like that. But yeah, so it's almost always it's lyrics first, and it will be if I have some kind of inspiration from something and like a musical idea, I'll be like, oh cool, and then I'm just going to write lyrics, and then I'll kind of come back to the music and kind of go from there. But I think it's probably the same as it is for a lot of people, where I don't need to be inspired all the time, but it makes it much faster if I am.
Yeah.
Like I'm not just sat like, what's going to sound good after this? If something like piques my interest, it can be fun.
Yeah.
You know?
Doing creative things can be fun sometimes.
What?
Yeah.
Who knew? I don't know if you relate to that.
Yeah, a whole bunch. I think one of the things that I've struggled with in the past a lot is, especially in the genre that I work in and also you kind of work in, is liking the sad stuff. Sometimes you struggle to write happy songs.
Yeah.
Or struggle to write songs when you're happy. Because introspection for me is sometimes harder when I'm not feeling hurt or whatever, or in a certain place. Like it takes me, as you said, it takes me longer to get there. Yeah. And sometimes I'll kind of almost prevent myself from getting there because I'll tell myself I won't be able to write something as good if I'm not currently in a state where I'm feeling a certain emotion that I have to write something. Yeah. That's something that I've sort of tried to get over, because for me, when I started writing music, it was very much, this is a way that I can express myself and channel how I'm feeling in the moment, deal with these feelings that I'm feeling that I maybe haven't felt before, which I think is the case for a lot of people when they first start writing music. So yeah, getting into a place where I'm like, oh, I can write music in different states is really interesting, and also creates a lot of really interesting music.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And I think I definitely relate to the happiness point. Like, I just find it more interesting writing songs that aren't happy.
Yeah.
Even if it is like a generally happy song, if there's lyrics in there that are like dark or sad, and to some degree, it just makes it more interesting for me. Like, I love the Smiths, and obviously like their lyrics, the songs sound quite happy sometimes in terms of the guitar parts and stuff, but like all of the lyrics are just like crushing, and I just love it. That paradox, I guess, of happy sad is a place I like to live in quite a lot. Happy sad,
genre coined by Henry Liggins. Yeah.
But yeah, I think being in the middle is nice, living in the grey. You know?
What's really exciting you about the industry right now?
I think the thing that kind of keeps me hopeful and optimistic is that I think there's enough people that you meet at gigs that are there and they just want to experience like live music and real music. That's kind of keeping the fire of hope burning a little bit. I don't know if that's necessarily what's inspiring me that's happening in the music industry right now, but you know. No.
I see where you're coming from with the rise of AI in this industry is the rise of the other side. The people going, okay, well, what do we have that AI doesn't have, which is human experience and creative process, and being able to demonstrate these things to the world and kind of invite them into what it means to make art. And so I think that seeing that on like a larger scale and a smaller scale, we've got like more podcasts, more tiny desk style stuff like we've got today. We've got things like different production styles. We have people like Dijon, and he's very much like, I'm performing and we're getting a capture of this performance. Which I think, definitely feeds into the other side. So collaboration is quite important to your process. How does writing collaboratively differ from writing alone for you? Is one easier, would you say, as well?
I don't know if I'd say easier. I think they're very different, because even if I've got an idea coming into like a co-writing session, just having someone else's opinion to like put in the mix, whether it's a lyrical idea or a melody, or just changing the spelling of a chord or whatever it is. Like as soon as you've got another person in there that's saying things that you don't agree with, it's just like, I don't know, I find it so exciting. I really enjoy writing on my own, and I think if I know what I want to say, writing on my own sometimes is easier because it's kind of like I can just get it out. If it's there, it can be quick. But then if the relationship's right and if the chemistry is right between the people you're writing with, I think normally you're probably going to write better stuff with other people.
I think it's, you kind of, people sometimes assume certain roles, and that kind of works because one person is kind of doing the other thing that the other person kind of is lacking in that session, or generally as a writer they're not as strong on, like they balance each other out. If we talk about like Elton John and
Bernie Taupin.
Yeah, Bernie. Those two were so great writing together because of the fact that they had music, lyric, this is what I succeed in, but I'm not so great at the other thing, and you're basically the yin to my yang. And even if you're kind of writing with people who maybe have similar strengths, you're still coming at it from a different perspective.
I think it is nice sometimes to have that role, I guess. But I mean, the person that I've written the most with is Deck.
Yeah.
Deck Foster. Shout out. Listen to him. He's great.
Yeah.
And we don't really have like a role when we write together. We kind of, we both sing, we both play, we both write. But I think it's just nice because we've spent that time like building the relationship up in terms of as mates, but also as, you know, songwriters. Sometimes it won't even be we're going to write a song together. It'll be one of us has a song that is almost there, and it's like, can I swear?
Yeah.
Is this shit? You know, like. But it's like having that like sounding board of someone that you trust and someone that you know has got your best interest and also the art's best interest at heart. You know, rather than it being just someone that's going to say yes to anything. Yeah, I just think collaboration in all walks of life is always a positive thing, I think.
Yeah, there's a quote that another musician I know, Asher Dooney, I don't know if this is his quote or he found it somewhere. He's probably going to be mad if it is his quote, and I'm like, yeah, you probably just found it online or something. But the quote that he always uses is "serve the song."
Yeah.
Which I think is a great way to approach making the music. It also just helps you get out of your own head sometimes.
Yeah, serve the song. I agree.
Yeah. You organised a writing challenge that I was also lucky enough to be a part of.
Sorry, Deck. It was Deck's idea to do it. But
sorry, Deck.
But yes.
Yeah. So Deck organised a writing challenge this January. Me and Henry were also a part of it. I'm really interested how you felt about that exercise of writing every day, if that's kind of a normal thing for you or if that felt quite new, and what you felt like you learned from that experience.
When I just came out of uni and I had a lot of time on my hands, I did it as a challenge previously. So I did it as like every day in February rather than January because it was the shortest month.
Yeah. And
I wrote something every day. A lot of the stuff that I was writing was really, really bad, but it was just kind of like opening up the pathways again. I'm talking about neural pathways again. What's going on? When you open up areas to explore, and it's even sometimes if there's a chord progression I've got in my head that I then use, it's like, cool, I'm going to do something different this time. And it, you know, it's just making yourself do something quickly. And I think because we have to write something every day, just doing, not second guessing yourself and just letting it come out, then you can look back on at the end of the month or even like a couple of days later and be like, actually that's kind of cool. I like that. Yeah. And it's just kind of taking the pressure off that you're not saying this is going to be the best song I've ever written. It's just going to be something. And then it's something that you can have as tangible. But I really like stuff like that. I write almost every day anyway. So it wasn't too much of a, you know, out of my comfort zone. Having like full songs was a lot, right? Because sometimes it would just be 2 lines that I'll write and I'll just kind of like, oh yeah, this is something that I might come back to. But I quite like pushing it, providing you have the time. Like I say, it's nice to have something.
I agree.
How did you, I think we spoke a little bit afterwards, but how did you find it? Did you enjoy?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was definitely challenging in the way that I also used to be very much a writer pretty much every day, especially through college. And then into uni, strangely, you'd think doing a music course at uni, you want to be writing more, but I actually ended up writing less. I think doing all of these new kind of things creatively in my degree that I hadn't really touched on before in writing was no longer kind of the main thing that I was doing. And it was really nice to kind of go back to. Like, it was nice to kind of feel like I was going back to the root of why I started making music in a way. And yeah, as you said before, kind of challenging yourself to not really overthink the writing and just make it, and just kind of trust that it doesn't need to be perfect or the best song you've ever written. As you said, it just needs to
be something.
Just be something.
Yeah.
So yeah, finding the love for it, was what I found.
That's really nice.
The best was the best outcome out of the writing.
I think it's important, isn't it? Like commercial songwriting versus what we were doing, I think, is almost like a different art form. Again, it's about serving the song, I think. Like, if every single song was like that, music would be so boring.
Yeah.
Like, I've already spoken about albums. Like, album tracks for me generally are more interesting than singles, because it's like space that the artist tends to, I think, know that the people listening to that track are going to be ones that are, like, for want of a better phrase, locked in. Like they want to be taken on the journey.
I just had like a vision of, you're like, they want to come on the journey, and I'm like, some kind of Hobbit, Lord of the Rings kind of things happening.
Absolutely.
People are ready to go on there.
Get me to Rohan.
Yeah. Yeah. Are there any genres outside of your own which you'd really like to kind of try your craft at?
There's so many, man. This is the thing, like, going back to commercial songwriting, like, I feel like you have to kind of pigeonhole yourself in order to get, not traction, but like to make it easy to digest who you are and what you are as like a brand. But I listen to so much variety, and I listen to so many different artists. I think I would love, if I get any kind of modicum of success with music, to be able to just say, cool, I'm going to write and release some house music right now, because I love house music. Again, it's like a different world to, folk indie songwriting. And I just think it would be fun to do some of that.
One of the things I think is really interesting is, I didn't know that about you, but like house music, I think, as much as it's very different from things like folk, indie, stuff like that, I think that there's a kind of a gap in the market / there's an opportunity there where it can work.
Folk house.
Yeah, folk house. I don't know, but I feel like
that'd be so fun.
The vocal choices and like the importance of vocals in both of those genres is something that can transfer. I don't know if that's like, I mean, there are definitely people out there who've done it for sure. I think that that's something that could be explored. Maybe when you're like, you've had like the few album cycles where you're like, I feel like I'm happy with the music I've made in this genre. Yeah. Cool, now I'm gonna make the house album.
Yeah, this is the house album.
Yeah. Didn't know that he made music like that, and everyone's like, clearly you weren't listening to like his SoundCloud demos back in the day. You're just like not a real fan. Yeah.
I think I'd probably do it under a different moniker. I like the idea of not being pinned down to one thing.
Do you think that kind of mindset of not wanting to be pinned down to a specific thing is like a mindset that you have in other things that aren't music as well?
I think so, yeah. And I think it's kind of like a problem more than a pro. It's more of a con than a pro. And we spoke about being perfectionists earlier. Like, I want whatever I do to be not perfect, but good. In a film version of my life, I would be decisive, and I would be like, I'd be doing the thing that I want to do. I'd have moved to London, and I'd be, I'd have a mullet or something. But that, I don't know. I feel like I'm too sensible to do stuff like that.
I think it's really interesting because people expect musicians and creative people to be always so like impulsive and risk takers, and I think a lot of the time actually they're like control freaks. Yeah. Like they want things to be done a certain way, and they're doing that through their art. And I don't know, that sometimes is a good thing, sometimes a bad thing, and it kind of manifests differently in different people. But it's definitely an interesting concept for sure. Who are some different artists or writers who you're a fan of, especially in the Midlands?
Oh, especially in the Midlands is interesting. Well, last night I supported somebody called Jessie Reed, who is just so talented. She is from Shrewsbury, and she's just unreal. Her music is so beautiful, and she's just released an album, and so she's just on a tour for that album. And I've not heard her play with a band before. It's normally like she sits sometimes with the guitar like on her lap and is like percussively playing it, and it's just like, how do you do that? But hearing it with a band live it just felt like special. Felt like that's how it's meant to be listened to. I think the kind of crowd that was there, again, it's like we spoke about with the album track people, like they were there because they want to be moved by the music, and it's just stunning. Like it's so good. So I love her. I mean, there's someone else that I have done a little bit of co-writing with called Harry, and he's does things under different monikers, but his one that he performs under with his own music is O'Halloran, and just listening to his guitar playing, he's just like unbelievable. Like, so when you're kind of listening to something for the first time and they make every single choice you'd want them to make, you hear something like, I'll do this, and then he does it. It's like, yes. To have seen him play a few times and then to start writing with him, because it's like you're seeing things happen in real time, and it's going back to that thing of collaboration. It's just it just feels like the music's alive, and it's just lovely. But
I like that. What led you to making music as like a kid or a teenager?
I've always been more interested in the arts than basically anything else in the world, really. Like, I was in a musical theatre group from the age of like 10 until, I mean, when would it have been, like 16? And then I was still doing like school shows and stuff after that. So there was always kind of that element of music and performance. But I didn't really like write my own music at that point. Like I'd write, but it was like bad. But yeah, it was like year 13. I was going to do drama at uni. And then, yeah, I just contemplated the thought of not doing music every day. And I was like, oh, do you know what? That would actually kind of suck. So then I did music at uni. And I think it was kind of when I was there that I started taking my writing much more seriously. I was like, I kind of want to do this with my life. Like, I kind of had the idea when I was much younger that the idea of being a singer-songwriter would be fun, it would be cool. But then kind of didn't make any inroads to making it happen. Moving to Cardiff and being around it all the time, I was like, yeah, do you know what? I think 11-year-old me was right. Like, I look back, and I think it's natural to, but I look back on, and I feel like a lot of the kind of things that are kind of staples in my life now have kind of come later than they would for a lot of other people in my position. Like, I've only recently started getting into Joni Mitchell, and now these artists are like so important for how I define my musical identity, you know? Like, they're so important to like my writing style and how I'd be aspirationally as an artist.
Do you ever, this is something that I kind of quite enjoy, is when I find an artist that I like, doing a bit of a deep dive into artists that inspire them, or artists that they've worked with, or the creative people who they've worked with, writers or producers, and who they work with, because I'm kind of just obsessed with the world that they're creating in, and I'm like, okay, well, who else can I kind of find who's like this? And I kind of do a bit of a deep dive. And one of the things I find interesting about that, and especially doing that with modern artists right now, who are your inspirations? Let me have a look. And then you find older artists who you might not have found, because you're finding a lot of artists online these days, rather than going into a CD shop or a record shop and sort of sifting through and listening to them and being like, oh, I want to buy this one. It's a very different process. And I think that is kind of nice, because it's nice when you find the new links to the old and vice versa. And there's just this whole big kind of world out there that you're just being able to kind of dip your toe in different bits of the ocean, I guess.
I was having this conversation with a friend a couple of weeks ago, actually. No matter how much you listen to, there's always so much that you're never going to come close to. There's so much music, and there's so much music released all the time. But even if you're saying, okay, at this point forward, no one can release any more songs, just going back and listening to everything from when, music started being recorded to now, like, there's just almost infinite amount of stuff. Like, it's just so much music, but it's so exciting. I think it'd be easy to think that and be bummed out, be like, oh, well, everything's been written. And it's like, well, no, there's so much to be inspired by, And I think, like, I love what you said about like finding artists and like finding their influences and their inspirations and stuff. I love doing that.
What drew you to acoustic, folk, pop, indie, those kind of genres?
I think part of it is quite a cynical thing, where I think getting the sound that you want is easier in a genre where most of it's acoustic. And I think a lot of the music, especially like full band stuff that I really like, is just getting that sound, or even like a approximation of that sound. I don't know, it's not easy. I don't want to say it's easier than other genres, but it's kind of, it feels more achievable, I think. But then I think, like, the longer you spend in any environment, the more it kind of feels like a home, Like, I would class myself as a folk-inspired, I'm not a folk musician, but I'm like a folk-inspired musician. Whereas I think when I started writing music in that genre, I wouldn't really have said that. What was it that inspired you to be in this world?
I think a similar kind of thing of it felt like it was more achievable, I guess. I would listen to songs and it's like, oh, this either is literally just a vocal and a guitar, or there's not a lot production-wise. This is something I could literally write, create. And that feels very exciting, obviously. I initially started writing more from like a lyrical place, because I'd always really enjoyed, as you said before as well, I really liked English and stuff at school, and writing in general has always been something I've been a fan of, journaling, all of that kind of stuff, writing stories. So getting
do you still do any of that now?
I still journal. I don't write as much. I write some poetry sometimes, but stories not as much as I wish that I could. I really enjoy world building and that kind of part of writing that I think just allows you to really just go off on so many tangents and just really just exist in such little small areas of this thing you've created.
It's almost like, depending on what you want to do with it, I think a lot of the genre we're talking about can just be kind of like short stories, like really, really short stories. And I think that's kind of like a joy that comes with a vocal and a guitar that is the whole song. Like, you can have so much fun with just telling a story.
What does the future look like for you creatively then?
I mean, I think the dream would be to have just a any kind of successful music career. You know, something that I think is meaningful, that I can create and be employed to create, I think would be really nice. And within that, obviously, I want to make albums. I really enjoy performing. Like, I like being on stage, but I don't know. I like the idea of just things being fresh and exciting. So whatever it is, I want to feel excited by every day.
Yeah, just be excited by every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Talk to me about new music.
So I have an EP coming out in May. So I've got a single came out Friday.
Bootleg Lover.
Which was, yes sir. And then I've got 2 more singles, and then I've got the EP. So altogether there's going to be 5 songs on the EP. That's like early this year. Beyond that, I'm going to kind of assess the reception to the EP, autopilot. If people are like, we want more now, then I'm potentially going to do an album, because I've got enough to do an album now. And I know kind of like how I want it to sound and what I want to say. And but I'm just, I'm excited at the moment. You know, there's people that I'm working with. There's people that I'm just being around. Like I spoke about the gig with Jesse yesterday. Like I'm just doing a lot of stuff and feeling inspired and excited. So yeah, I want to kind of make the most of that and create.
What do you think keeps you motivated?
There's something about like being part of a society of people that are interested in art and coming together. There's something about that I just love, and so being a part of that in any way.
This might be a little bit easier. I've got some more quick fire questions.
Okay, cool.
So first one, what advice would you give to any aspiring artists or songwriters out there?
Just make the thing, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be music. Whatever stage you think you are at it, just do it. It might just be for you, but I think if you make it, it's real. So just, if you want it to happen, make it happen.
No one's going to do it for you unless you use Suno.
Yeah, it's so real. So real.
But we're not in the business of promoting that one here. Every episode, we ask each guest what's like a pairing musically that they would want to put together. So the question is, who are you shacking up? 2 artists that you can pick to collaboratively make a music baby.
As in, I'm there too, or they're making the baby together.
They're making it, so like you're the manager in charge of making sure this thing happens.
I think one of them has to be Radiohead, because just I want them to make more music, because it's been 10 years this year and I need more. I don't know who they'd be with though. Part of my degree involved ambient music and people like Brian Eno. So I mean, the soundscapes and stuff that they have already are great, but someone that has got like an interesting soundscape, whether it's Brian Eno, someone like Ludwig Göransson would be really cool as well, just doing cool experimental stuff. I think they'd have like an interesting thing together. So let's go Radiohead and Ludwig Göransson.
So who's your dream collab then?
I think the issue is that a lot of the people that I really love musically are all like very introspective, but I think having a session with somebody like Damien Rice or Tom York, I would worry that it would either be painfully awkward or maybe it just would be someone like that. A dream collab for me. I should have prepared something to say for this. I don't know.
Just letting the audience know, I did not give Henry enough time to prepare for this question.
Some of them I looked at, I was like, oh yeah, kind of I'll talk in that realm. With this one I was like, oh, I'll figure it out on the time.
Yeah.
I haven't figured it out on the time. Let's say specifically Johnny Greenwood. He's just such a talented person, and it's just like, I think being in the room with him making things, even if I wasn't contributing, just watching him make things, I'd just be like, wow. You know,
this is so cool.
Yeah. Let's go with Johnny Greenwood.
What's your favourite piece of music that you've ever written? I
think it's one of the ones that I play in the set, which is Small Hours. I had the guitar part written for ages before it became anything. I was like, yeah, that's really nice. I need to write something good to go with that, which was kind of a lot of pressure when I was writing the song. And so I enlisted the help of Deck. I'm trying to think. The first voice note I've got of that guitar part is probably like 2 years ago. But yeah, I think that guitar part is really nice. And I think the song that I've written to go with it is also nice.
I really do like the guitar part for that. The melody choices lyrically. It's a nice little world that you've built.
Yeah.
Small world.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
A song that you wish you'd written?
I think it's difficult because a lot of the songs that I love are like, it's more than just the song. Like there's so much like magic that goes into making a song special, you know, like something like Starman or Let It Be or something outside of just the song itself. And the songs are both brilliant, but there's so much outside of it where it's like, if anyone else were to do that, it wouldn't be the same.
Yeah.
You know, so I'll probably just go for like just a really tight, well-written song. I mean, You've Got a Friend is just a beautiful song. I love that song. Carole King, you know. So something like that. Let's go with You've Got a Friend.
So we're kind of coming to the end now, unfortunately. But can you tell people what they can expect from you? I mean, we've briefly touched on this kind of with your EP and possible album, but give them a summary. What can people expect from Henry Liggins moving forward?
The EP's May. Lots more gigging. So I'm going to be working a lot on my live show. I want to have much more collaboration there. Not necessarily full band, but like something that's not just me. Probably more music come the end of the year because there's things that I want to be releasing. And then also there's another project that I'm part of with Deck, which is this time next year. And we have a lot of music we've written that we are kind of in the process at the moment of thinking about how we want to release it and how we want it to sound. So I think before the end of 26, this time next year, we'll also have something in the world that is real.
I think that's pretty much everything. Make sure, remember, you subscribe, like and subscribe, comment if you wish to. But yeah, Henry will have a performance up for you on YouTube, which you can expect to see a couple days after this interview. So it'll be interview first, and then you can watch him play his lovely songs that you've heard him talk so much about. We've got 3 episodes total this season, so Henry will be the last installment. So if you haven't seen the others, definitely go check those out as well. Yeah, some good music for you there. Some variety. We've got some more folk, we've got some pop, we've got some drum and bass, we've got some ambient, we've got loads of genres. So yeah, definitely check that out. But yeah, I think that's everything from Shacking Up episode 3. I've been FREYA MCCARTHY, and this has been
Henry Liggins.
Thank you so much. And yeah, bye.
Bye.
That is a wrap.
Cool.
Shacking Up with FREYA MCCARTHY.
You call in the small hours when the light's gone down. We should be sleeping, but that doesn't matter now.